Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady, and for this video I am joined by Matt Hurley, the GAA Statsman, and we're just going to talk about the All-Ireland Hurling Final of 2022. You could argue one of the great All-Ireland Hurling Finals, an absolute classic. Limerick winning and completing the first ever three in a row in the county's history by beating Kilkenny 131 to 226. With this victory, of course, they complete the three in a row and they join Kilkenny, Cork and Tipperary as the only counties that have actually done that, a monumental achievement. And not only that, Declan Hannon now is the only captain in hurling history to lift the Liam-McCarthy 4 times. Matt, this is an absolutely incredible achievement by Limerick.
It's an unreal achievement, yeah. Like Limerick to win 3 in a row, you wouldn't have said that when John Kiley took over. What an achievement for them. And what impressed me about Limerick, I said it on plenty of podcasts leading up to the game during the week, like the way Limerick win games as well. They didn't play particularly well. It was either Limerick not playing particularly well or their opponents playing absolutely outstanding. And you have to credit Kilkenny. They were absolutely brilliant. 32 overall in an All-Ireland Final, and to lose the game, I mean, that's sickening for them. But it probably shows how good a team Limerick are. They're absolutely outstanding. Even Gearóid Hegarty scores 111 from play going into this game throughout the championship, and then automatically scores 1-5 from play in the final. What a superb display. And superb displays all over the field, 131 in Ireland final. And the question really is, does this beat the performance like against Cork last year? I think honestly it does, because Cork didn't show up last year. This Kilkenny team showed up with all flying colours and Limerick still beat them. They were absolutely outstanding. Yes, they had a bit of scares with the goals through Billy Ryan and Marty Keown, but Limerick, they hung on, and they hung on like real champions. The subs made a big difference, like Conor Boylan coming on. Cathal O'Neill did well when he came on as well. So Limerick well deserved their victory, but Kilkenny need to be credited as well, because nobody expected really Kilkenny to get to the final, and not only get to the final, but trouble Limerick for the full 70 minutes. That's a credit to Brian Cody and his team as well. But fair play to Limerick, 3 times All-Ireland champions. Declan Hannon as well, lifted the cup 4 times. What a captain he is, underrated as well. I think they were mentioned that in the Sunday game yesterday as well. So fair play to Limerick, but commiserations to Kilkenny, an absolutely superb final. Probably, Seamus, one of the best All-Ireland hurling finals in history. I know it's recency bias will say, but it has to be up there surely.
Oh yeah, no doubt in my mind about that. And you were mentioning obviously about Kilkenny staying there with Limerick throughout the entire game. And you mean after the start that Limerick had, it looked like Kilkenny might not necessarily be able to do that, but the way they pulled it back. But no doubt the start for Limerick in this game was crucial. I mean, they hit the first 1-2. Of course, Diarmuid Byrnes is free and Aaron Gillan kicked the point after the goal, but we have to talk about the goal. I mean, that was unbelievable. I literally couldn't believe what I just seen. It took me a few minutes to process it. Like, wow.
Yeah. Unreal goal. And up at the highest quality of one of the best All-Ireland final goals in history. What a superb finish from Gearóid Hegarty. And he has it in his locker. Like, he did a similar sort of performance against Cork last year. The goal taking as well in that game was unbelievable. But this game, like, just what Limerick needed. And they mentioned in commentary as well, if you're going to beat Owen Murphy, it would have to be a rocket. And what a rocket it was. What a superb goal. Like, he put it as high as you can at the top of the net, you know, and he wasn't even inside the little box as well. What a superb finish for Gearóid Hegarty, and one of the best All-Ireland final goals in history. Probably the goal of the year as well, undoubtedly. What a superb finish from Gearóid Hegarty. And yeah, Limerick, they started with it house and fire, but Kilkenny recovered after that. And most teams after that would have folded, like a Cork, like a Waterford in the last 2 years. But credit to Kilkenny, they could have been starstruck by that goal by Hegarty, but they stood up when counted and they plugged their way back into the game. And in general, in the first half, Limerick were much the better team, and Kilkenny only still trailed by 4 points. Like, that just shows how hard Kilkenny worked in that first half as well. But that goal set Limerick on their way, and I think Limerick weren't losing the game after that. So that was key. That goal was absolutely key, and what a finish from Gearóid Hegarty that was.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that as well, the flick from Seamus Flanagan. I mean, it was a Nicky Quaid free down to Flanagan. That flick, and then the pickup by Hegarty as well to kind of slap the hurl down on its side and run through a full pace. He was coming at an angle and to swing it back across into the top corner like lightning speed. Like, you literally can't, you just see the net bulge. You don't even see the ball go. I mean, that was the same as Owen Murphy. I mean, he just threw himself at it and hoped for the best, but it was never going to stop that. That was as in the top corner, as you said. That was as in the top corner as it could possibly have got. One of the best goals I've ever seen, because the stage was set and he was the man. And throughout the game, he was the man. Kilkenny pulled it back, as you mentioned, the resilience points, from the likes of Owen Cody, from the likes of Adrian Mullen on the 20th minute. I mean, that score was a beauty. That was right over the sideline, swung it straight over his shoulder. But another thing, talk to me about Kilkenny's points that they got, but Gearóid Hegarty's points in the first half as well. I mean, the one of the 25th minute from the sideline that he put it over to make it 112-9. That was like, this fella's actually having a laugh, like where he's shooting from with these, and he's just pinging them over like it's nothing. My opinion, one of the all-time great All-Ireland final performances from Gearóid Hegarty. Like he stood up and was absolutely the man. And then on top of that, Kilkenny, the likes of Adrian Mullen shooting the lights out in the first half.
Absolutely, yeah. And even though he did stats of the game, and it seemed like every puck out that Hegarty won around that wing, he put it over the bar or even passed it inside as well. Like, he was colossal, and Kilkenny didn't know how to deal with him in the first half. Like that ball from Nicky Quaid going to the side there, Hegarty picking it on the sideline. Like, I mean, he did it time and time again. He didn't do it just once. He did it time and time again. Kilkenny, in fairness, learned from it in the second half, but what a performance by him. And as regards Kilkenny scores, Owen Cody, you mentioned, like Adrian Mullen, even he wasn't having his best game in the first half, but he swung over an excellent point as well. TJ Reid got 7 first half frees. I know you could say, yes, they're only frees, but they were pressure frees for TJ Reid. If he didn't get those, Kilkenny, we wouldn't talk about Kilkenny's brilliant performance in the All-Ireland Final. Like, he's been superb throughout the year as well. Yeah, like Kyle Hayes putting them over as well. Galan seemed to do it in the first half, not so much in the second half, but he was outstanding. And my favourite point, personally, was Diarmuid Byrnes from play. Like, Owen Murphy poked the ball around the middle of the field. He plucks it out of the sky and then sends it back over the bar. I mean, they were mentioned on Sunday game last night, they were mentioning Diarmuid Byrnes as player of the year. I said Aaron Galan in one of my posts on Instagram, but I'd argue Diarmuid Byrnes is so close to that, and that epitomises us. Like, he wasn't just scoring from frees. Like, that was a monster score, something Limerick needed as well. And usually, I think if there was one area that Kilkenny were struggling in the first half battle, it was the puckouts. Because every time the puck out went long, Limerick seemed to win it. And that's a credit to Limerick. Like, their strength, their athleticism, it's absolutely unbelievable for a hurling team as well. Like, Hegarty's 6'5". Like, I mean, they're absolute monsters in the middle of the field. And yeah, my favourite score was Byrnes, but all of them were well-taken scores. Hegarty is up there as well. Like, the quality of these scores in an All-Ireland fight in the first half, in the sweltering heat. Like, I mean, these players deserve so much credit for what they do. Unbelievable performance by them. But the Byrnes score was my favourite personally. It was just unbelievable and kind of roused Limerick on when Kilkenny were trying to get a bit of momentum.
Yeah, and the Byrnes point is such a good example, because not only is it a point, but it was denying Kilkenny an attack. Like, they were trying to build an attack there, and for Diarmuid Byrnes to catch it and put it straight back over the bar, that was a real kind of like 2-point swing almost, because the level that hurling has got to now, you more or less expect a score from every attack, especially at this level. So for Byrnes to intercept that and put it right back over the bar, that was a real boost for Limerick. But in the first half, you're obviously mentioning about how good Limerick were. Still, Kilkenny hung right in there, and they were right in at a half-time. And maybe could there have been a little bit of doubt in the Limerick dressing room that, look, we're not far enough ahead of these for how much better we have been than them in the first half.
Like, it's actually interesting, the stats for the first half, because I was saying all throughout the week, what Kilkenny need to do against Limerick is to shoot effectively well. Like, in the first half, they had 76% shot conversion rate. In fairness to Limerick, they had 75 as well. But because Kilkenny were keeping it up at that rate, they were still in the game. And I mentioned as well, Limerick, like, they had more shots than Kilkenny. They were utterly dominant in the first half. It was as perfect a first half performance as you could wish for. But as you said, at halftime, there was doubt because Kilkenny were playing absolutely outstanding. It wasn't like Cork or Waterford the last 2 years where they just fell flat on their face after about 20 minutes and the game was over. This Kilkenny team were sticking in there. And that's a credit to Brian Cody as well. The way he's galvanised these players, because at the start of the year, nobody probably gave Kilkenny a chance of even getting to an All-Ireland final, let alone challenging Limerick throughout the final, really, especially in the first half. And the sweltering heat as well. Like, a lot of people were mentioning that during the week. They were looking at the weather forecast. They were saying, like, for these players to keep up that energy in the first half would be absolutely unbelievable. And you look at the shot success rate for both teams there. That's a credit to both of them. And yeah, there was doubt creeping into that Limerick team, but that's down to Kilkenny as well. Like, Limerick could do no wrong in the first half. They hit 117, but Kilkenny were just unbelievable as well, which made it such a brilliant final. And the second half as well was outstanding for both teams. It kind of dropped a little bit, understandably so, because of the weather, but both teams provided absolute entertainment in this final. And it's a credit to Brian Cody, it's a credit to John Kiley, and all involved. What a final it was. But Kilkenny keeping that shot conversion rate up was huge to trying to challenge Limerick in this game.
Yeah, no doubt. You mentioned there about the second half. So going into the second half, obviously Kilkenny needed to make a good start, and they absolutely did. 38th minute, Billy Ryan slams in that goal. Brilliantly set by Walter Walsh, who I have to say made a big impact when he came on. He was fantastic against Limerick in 2019. He was fantastic again in this game here. I mean, he caught that, then played it across. I think he initially might have been going to Martin Keoghan, but Keoghan kind of flicked it on instead onto Billy Ryan, got it onto his left, buried it in the back of the net. And really, the atmosphere in the stadium, the way that goal felt, it felt like, Limerick might be, right under the cosh here, but, predictably, Gearóid Hegarty swings over a point straight after. But that goal was massive in Kilkenny getting back into the game. And then the 43rd minute, Walter Walsh hits that point. And in the 47th minute, Kilkenny get their second goal in under 10 minutes. This time it was Martin Keoghan, set up brilliantly by TJ Reid and Owen Cody. That made it 122 to Limerick to 218. Those two goals were massive in Kilkenny getting back in the game.
They were, yeah. And they needed goals to try and challenge this Limerick team. And by God, they got them. And for the second goal, I think it was the second goal for Mossy Keown's goal. Definitely was Mossy Keown's goal. Owen Cody's flick. We talk about Seamus Flanagan's flick for the first goal. Owen Cody, I know he didn't perform particularly well. He scored 1 point for play overall. But that flick towards Mossy Keown was so underrated. Like the cleverness to do that in that situation, under that pressure. I mean, that was unbelievable. And yeah, that was another reason why Kilkenny stuck with Limerick as long as they did. But as you rightly said there, after the goals, Hegarty to points, there was points coming everywhere after them goals for Limerick. And both teams kept the intensity going right to the final whistle. And I'd say we mentioned this on maybe it was your podcast or JFan TV back a while. What Kilkenny needed was Limerick to have an off day, because Limerick are just so perfect in everything they do. Like, Kilkenny performed so well even in the first half and the second half, and they still couldn't win it. And Limerick kept plugging away. That's a credit to Limerick as well. Like, Hegarty wasn't having his best second half. He still scored 2 points. Even the very last point as well. Like that's as important as the goal. Every score that Limerick got was as important as the last. And that was the main thing with this Limerick team. And Kilkenny, in fairness to them, they stuck at it, but they just couldn't get back the margin at the end. But the goals were crucial to try and keep them in the game. They definitely needed the big start in the second half, and they got it thanks to Billy Ryan's goal and Mossy Keown. Mossy Keown, I said during the week, he'd be a goal getter. He'd be the main man to try and get a goal for Kilkenny. He got a goal in the All-Ireland final. That's his 5th in the championship so far, overall this year. Like, what a player he was to try and get the goals for Kilkenny. But Limerick, they kept plugging away, and that was the ultimate difference, because Limerick were so good. Kilkenny just couldn't catch them, no matter how good they were. And yeah, that's a credit to Limerick. That's a credit to how they drive themselves on. You have to credit this team. I know it's boring saying they're 3 All-Ireland champions, but the way they kept plugging away, even when Kilkenny were performing really well, that's a credit to Limerick. Absolute credit to Limerick. It deserved All-Ireland champions for that start to the second half, when other teams could have folded after them 2 goals.
Yeah, I mean, that was a real kind of, it reminded me a lot of the Waterford game, where Waterford hit the 2 quick-fire goals and Limerick just remained ice cool, go down and get the next 3 points. Like, they always responded straight away. And whenever they were under the cosh, whenever they were under pressure, They just went straight to Hegarty, and Hegarty would either set Tom Morrissey to stick it over the bar or put it over the bar himself. He's like a cheat code. He literally is like, you can always rely on him to get the score or catch a ball when you need him to. And the last 10 minutes, I thought, were just absolutely, electric. I mean, you have Adrian Mullen hitting over that beauty on the 60th minute. Richie Hogan hitting an absolute gorgeous point to level it up once again. And then Hayes' response to that one, Cathal O'Neill's beauty on the 65th minute. And then Gearóid Hegarty, it was meant to be that he would be the one to finish it off, really. That point where he just bowls Walter Walsh over. I mean, all 6'6" of Walter Walsh just knocks him over and then sticks it over from the middle of the pitch. That was some way to finish it off. And Kilkenny, I know that they kind of dragged it back. Nice points by Tommy Walsh and David Blanchfield. But those last 10 minutes were electric, and they were a real kind of showcasing of just how good Limerick are, because their composure and their shot selection in the last 5 minutes was as cool, as calculated, and as efficient as it was in the first 5 minutes. So they don't care when the game is played, what circumstances, what pressure is on. They still take the right shots at the right times. And it was massively important for them in the last 10 minutes when Kilkenny did miss a few big chances. I think the last 10 minutes were electric, and they showed just how damn good this Limerick team are.
Last 10 minutes, I thought, was more just getting over the line, because the weather just played such a huge factor, especially going down the home straight. But you mentioned Gearóid Hegarty's point, which was a monster score in itself. But even the subs coming on, Cathal O'Neill and Conor Boylan's point was unbelievable as well, right in the middle of the field as well. What a superb score. Cathal O'Neill coming on as well. And yeah, Limerick, they finished them off, but a word of Kilkenny scores, actually, they had 50 different scores. I mean, for a losing All-Ireland Final winning team, that's absolutely incredible. And you look at subs that came on for Kilkenny that scored: Walter Walsh, John Donnelly, Richie Hogan, Alan Murphy, David Blanchfield. I think that's all the 5 subs that came on and scored. I mean, we talk about Limerick, their bench making a huge difference during the week, which it did in fairness to them, and they got them over the line. They did with Cathal O'Neill and Conor Boyle, especially David Reedy played his part as well. But for all 5 subs to score for Kilkenny, I mean, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Yeah, even Richie Hogan scoring as well. Like, he didn't play any part this year hardly, and he still pops up with a point. Like, everybody played absolutely outstanding in this game, and what a spectacle it was towards the end. And the Hegarty point, even bowling Walter Walsh over the way. In fairness to Hegarty, he's 6'5", so he's no small lad. Like, he's a huge fella. So yeah, that was a superb score from Limerick there. And yeah, even the shot efficiency towards the end of the game, it was 72% for Limerick, 71% for Kilkenny. Like, when is the last time that happened in an All-Ireland final? Like, Limerick deserved winners, deserved champions, but we have to appreciate the greatness for both teams in this All-Ireland final. It was end to end. The shots were nearly perfect. The puckouts, they had drama, everything in this game. Unbelievable played. Credit to Kilkenny, credit to the Subs, credit to Brian Cody, but Limerick just know how to win games. And as long as they kept in front at arm's length above Kilkenny, they were always going to win this game because of the greatness of this Limerick team. And you have to argue, this is one of the greatest teams of all time, this Limerick team. Even if they don't win 4 in a row now next year, just every position in this Limerick team, they give it their all. The quality, the strength, the athleticism, it is absolutely incredible throughout the field for this Limerick team. And I think they have to be pushed as one of the greatest teams of all time after this game. That was an incredible performance by both teams, and credit to both of them. But Limerick, what champions they are.
Without doubt. I mean, I agree with everything that you said there. Like, this Limerick team is one of the best teams I've ever seen. And to be honest, I know you can romanticize the teams of the past, but I mean, like, what I would look at if I'm talking their ability is how high have they gone? What level have they reached? Limerick have beaten every single type of challenge that has been put in front of them. I mean, the Kilkenny team, and it could get controversial here, the Kilkenny team of the 2000s did have things easier for them than this Limerick team. I'm not for 1 second taking away from the greatness of this Kilkenny team, but Limerick have to get out of an absolute shark tank there in Munster where everyone is gunning for them. Kilkenny used to have to play teams like Offaly and a poor enough Dublin team in the 2000s. And then they'd be into the Leinster final, where Galway weren't around up until 2009. So they usually had Leinster pretty handy. Then they'd have the semi-final and the final, which they always came through in. But some of those finals as well, like Limerick didn't give them much challenge in 2007. Waterford fell apart in 2008. Limerick have beaten every single type of test that I can think of. They've been hit late. They've been hit early. They've had their backs to the wall. They've had their hurler of the year injured, and they still won the goddamn All-Ireland without one of the best hurlers we've ever seen as well in Cian Lynch. I genuinely think that they don't actually have that much further to go, in my opinion, to be considered Kilkenny's equal, if not better than them, because they have already done so much. And I'm genuinely looking at it. I think Sean Finn, it's not recency bias. Sean Finn has won already something like 3 All-Stars in a row. He's on for his 4th. I genuinely think Sean Finn's the best cornerback I've ever seen in terms of taking a player out of the game. Every single season he does it. Gearóid, Hegarty, right up there, one of the best wing forwards I've ever seen play the game. Like, they're so good. And it does make you think, look, recency bias. You don't want to say that they're better than the teams of the past, but they're right up there in the conversation as one of the best teams I've ever seen. And then the class in their ranks as well. Cian Lynch, we all know about his injury. We all know about, rolling the ankle and training the week before the game. For Declan Hannon, in that moment when, he's becoming the man to lift the trophy for the 4th time. And, it's all about him really in that moment, for him to have the humility in the class to bring Cian Lynch up with him to lift the cup. It says a lot about the kinship within their ranks and how much of a team they are as opposed to individuals.
And I suppose another point as well, this team is still young. It's around 25, 26 years of age. Like, there's more to come from this team. And it's absolutely incredible. The way they set the bar as well. And as you mentioned, the way they've come up through the ranks. Like, John Kiley's first year, they lost to Clare, they lost to Kilkenny. We were thinking, geez, where is this Limerick team going? But then in 2018, like, from 2018 to 2022, they've lost one championship game. And that was because they switched off in the first 20 minutes against Kilkenny. Well, okay, they lost against Cork in a group game in a round robin as well, but still, they were knocked out by only one team, Kilkenny. And that was because they switched off. I definitely agree with you and Sean Finn. I think Mikey Butler has probably deserved to have an All-Star this year, but Sean Finn has been incredible for years now. So they gave Padel call him Mr. Consistent. He epitomises consistency in this team. Aaron Gillan, his score record from play this year, 321. I mean, Gearóid Hegarty didn't perform up to the final, and then he switches on just like that in the final with 1-5 from play. Like, what a superbly oiled machine this Limerick team is, and humility as well. And even you were talking about humility with Declan Hanlon, as well as Gearóid Hegarty. His interview with RT, he was just saying with Crow Park, I love this place. I absolutely adore this place. I just cherish every moment playing here. Like, he's a guy that just loves playing his hurling. And that's, like, I know they've won 3 in a row and all that, but they're kind of, I know there's the money issue with JP McManus and all that, but to me, they kind of look like a team, the greatest team of all time. They're in a discussion for that. And as well as that, they're likable. They're likable lads. They love their hurling. Like you can't dislike this team at any stage, really. And you talk about Kilkenny in the 2000s. The only team to really challenge them were probably Cork, Tipperary. That was about it. Cork were under resurgence under Jordan McCarthy. They holded them out. So really, only Tipperary were challenging that time. With this Limerick team, Clare tested them to the pin their collar. Galway did in the semi-final. Kilkenny did yesterday. Even Tipperary did for large periods in the Munster Championship. I mean, this Waterford did as well. Like, the only team they hammered this year was Cork. And they still won the All-Ireland. Like, they still grinded out the victories. And that's a sign of a great team as well. And I know Kilkenny fans will be angry throwing their phones at the wall or something listening to this. But Limerick are probably up there with the greatest team of all time, surpassing that Kilkenny team because of the athleticism, the scoring rate, the teams they've had to beat as well, the humility with their squad as well, and where they've come from. Because Kilkenny, let's be honest, like, Kilkenny's just a hurling county. They've only won a football junior title as well. Limerick have to deal with soccer, rugby, Gaelic football at some point as well. And to come from that stage in 2017 where they were down in the dumps to be one of the greatest teams of all time, that's a credit to Limerick. That is an absolute credit to Limerick. 4 All-Irelands in the last 5 years. What more could I say? What an incredible team they are. And I definitely put them in the conversation right now as one of the greatest teams of all time. And they might be up there already, in all honesty.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that is a good place to leave it at that. Limerick champions and great champions. We are witnessing absolute greatness here. So soak up every time you see these lads play, because they are going to go down as legends. Limerick 1-31, Kilkenny 2-26. Limerick win their 11th All-Ireland Hurling title, and their 3 in a row is complete. Thank you very much to Matt for coming on today. And until the next one, guys, take care.